Okay, in this video we're going to look at some real-life examples of multiplying and dividing mixed numbers. So here's example 1, example 2, example 3, example 4. Okay, and then there's another little part to example 4 at the end, right? Okay, going to start with example 1. And if a recipe calls for 2 3/4 cups of flour, how much flour will be needed if the recipe is tripled? I need a cake 3 times the size, or I need 3 times those amount of waffles or pancakes or whatever, right? So if I'm going to triple, it's times, tripling means multiplying by 3, doesn't it? Okay, so what I'm going to do is take my 2 3/4 cups of flour and multiply that by 3. So by all means press pause and see if you can get the answer, or race me, see if you can do it faster than me, then just skip the video ahead a little bit and see if you get the same answer. Okay, now I'll try it. So I'm going to, first of all, I want to change these guys to, change them both into fractions or mixed numbers, right? So let's see, 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 plus 3 is 11. So 11/4 is what that is, 11/4. And 3 can be written 3 over 1, right? Now, you're multiplying fractions here. You're allowed to cross cancel, but can we cross cancel anything? Nope, nothing to cross cancel, right? So 11 times 3, 33. 4 times 1 is 4. And that's 33/4 cups of flour. But it'd be nice to put that in the mixed number, because, you know, in real life, you know, how many cups of flour do we need? I need 33/4. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to people, does it? To communicate more clearly, we like to use mixed numbers a lot of the time. So what's 4 into 33 then? Let me ask you this, what's 8 times 4? 4 8s? It's 32, isn't it? So 4 into 33 actually goes 8 times remainder 1. So 8 1/4. We need 8 1/4 cups of flour if we're going to triple the recipe, right? Okay, let's have a look at this one. Example 2. If a recipe calls for 5 1/3 cups of sugar, and if you were only using half the recipe, how much sugar should you use? So I just want half the recipe. Interesting. 5 1/3 cups of sugar. So I'm going to use less, haven't I? So I'm going to take that 5 1/3, and I'm going to make, I want the answer to be less than 5 1/3, right? Because I'm using half the recipe. So how do I get half of something? Well, one way of getting half of something is dividing it by 2. Does that make sense? If I divide it by 2, I'll get half of it. The only problem is now I've got a math problem with mixed numbers and that. So let's go ahead and do that. And the first step we've figured out is we've got to turn these guys into improper fractions, right? So by all means press pause and do it and see if you get the same answer as me, or just kind of race me and then skip the video ahead and to see if you get the same answer. So let's see, 3 times 5, 15. 15 plus 1, 16, right? 16/3 divided by, and how can you write 2 as a fraction? 2 over 1. So I turn everything into fractions, you know, completely, and now I've got to, I'm dividing. So what do you do when you're dividing? Which one do you flip upside down? You got to multiply by this guy flipped upside down, right? Okay. So the interesting thing is that dividing by 2 turns into multiplying by a half, or getting a half of that, because remember that of means multiply. So just an interesting point that dividing by 2, that operation is the same thing as multiplying by a half, or getting 1/2 of something. See, so I'm getting a half of this, which, you know, that's exactly what I want, right? Okay, so see if you can cross cancel common factors there. 2 into 2 goes once, 2 into 16 goes 8 times. So I get 8 times 1, 8 over 3 times 1, 3, and that is, of course, as a mixed number. You wouldn't say, okay, we need 8/3 of sugar. You would say in real life, you would say 3 into 8, that's 2, remainder 2. 2 2/3. I need 2 2/3 cups of sugar, right? Good deal. Let's have a look at example 3. If a gallon of gas costs 237 and 9/10 cents, how much does half a gallon cost? 237 and 9/10 is the cost of a gallon. I want to figure out the cost of half a gallon. What am I going to do? Well, if you want to get half of a gallon, don't you have to... What are you going to do to this number to get half? You're going to have to get half of this number, wouldn't you? Because half a gallon is going to be half as much. It'll be half the price. How do you get half of something? Once again, you can take that and just divide it by 2. Does that make sense? Or you can say, I want 1/2 of this number. So if I'm getting half of that number, it's going to be a half, and of means multiply, so it'll be half multiplied by 237 and 9/10. Well, either way, you'll get the same answer. So I'm just going to continue with it this way. I'm going to divide it by 2. So I'm dividing these numbers. I've got to turn them both into fractions. Okay, 10 times this is in fact 2370. 10 times that is that, isn't it? You just add a 0, and then I'm going to add 9 to it, so I get 2379. So this is actually 2379 tenths divided by, and 2 as a fraction is 2 over 1. Okay. And I've got to then go 2379 over 10 multiplied by, flip this guy upside down, 1 over 2. So now, of course, I'm multiplying by a half, which is exactly what I'm doing here, multiplying by a half. If I wanted to get half of it, I would multiply it by half. Or I could have, like I said, divided by 2, but in any case, you'll end up multiplying by a half anyway, so it's all the same thing, right? Now, can you cross-cancel anything there? I don't think so. You see, this is an odd number, and 2 doesn't go into an odd number. And the factors of 10 are 2 and 5, so 2 doesn't go in, but 5 doesn't go in here either because it ends in a 9. So we're stuck with having to multiply this out. So 2379 times 1, 2379. 10 times 2, 20. And to turn that into a mixed number, I actually have to do long division, don't I? So I've got to go 20 into 2379. So 20 into 23 would be once. 1 times 20 is 20. Subtract. And I get 3. Take the 7 down. 20 into 37 is 1 time. 20. Subtract. And that gives me 17. Take the 9 down. 20 into that goes 9, 8 times. And 102, 8 times 2 is 1660. Subtract that, I get 9. And so that's my remainder, right? So it's 118 and 19 twentieths of a dollar. Is what it is. So I get 118 and 19 twentieth cents for the half a gallon, right? So that's a very accurate That's a very accurate calculation there, isn't it? Maybe a little bit too accurate for most everyday purposes, I'd say. So basically, it's obviously approximately 119 cents, or $1.19, approximately, right? So example 4: if it takes 1 2/3 yards of material to make a scarf, how much material will it take to make 5 scarves? Press pause and see if you can get that answer. Any idea? How about we take the 1 2/3 for material for one scarf and multiply it by what? Multiply it by 5, right? Now if I'm multiplying these funny mixed numbers and stuff, I've got to put them in, write them as improper fractions, right? So 3 times 1 is 3, 3 plus 1 is 5, so we've got 5/3 multiplied by, and write 5 as a fraction, 5 over 1. Okay. Now, does anything cross cancel there? You can only cross cancel numbers on the bottom but numbers on the top, so no, you're done, right? So multiply top across, 5 times 5 is 25, 3 times 1 is 3, and now write that as a mixed number. So you wouldn't say I need 25/3 yards of material as a mixed number. You would say 3 into 25 goes 8 times, doesn't it? 8 and 1/3. You would say I need 8 and 1/3 yards of material, right? Let's see this little part here. How much will the 5 scarves cost if the material costs $4 per yard? How would you work that one out? How many yards do you need for the 5 scarves? 5 scarves. We just got that, didn't we? We need 8 and 1/3 yards. Okay. So at $4 per yard, don't we multiply all the yards times the $4, right? So we go basically $4 times 8 and 1/3 yards, right? So I need to turn these guys into mixed numbers, right? Or sorry, improper fractions. So like just 4 over 1 times 3/8 is 24, 24 and 1 is 25/3. And can I cross cancel anything? Nope. So I just multiply the top 4 25s is what? And 1 times 3 is 3. So 4 times 25 is 100, right? And you wouldn't say I need 100/3 dollars now, would you? You'd say I need 3 into 10 goes 3 times remainder 1. 3 into 10 again goes 3 times and remainder 1. So I'm getting 33 and 1/3. Okay, and that's dollars. 33 and 1/3 dollars. Or a third of a dollar, by the way, of course, is about 33 cents, isn't it? So anyway, $33.33 for the 5 scarves.